Hello again and welcome. In this episode, I'm going to speak briefly about psychological medications and their relationship to healing from grief. First, while I am a trained, experienced, and licensed psychotherapist who has worked with a wide variety of clients, some struggling with severe and persistent mental illness, I do not prescribe medicine. Prescribing medicine is the role of your medical doctor. Now, in the case of basic mental health symptoms, family practitioners and internists are typically very well prepared to prescribe medications designed to help with sleep issues, depression, and anxious symptoms. For psychotic symptom management and other complex psychological cases, psychiatrists are most typically the prescribers of medications. Psychiatrists are also physicians who specialize in mental health and related medicines. I'm going to pause a moment here for an important safety announcement. I want to state so strongly that you should never take another person's leftover medications. Only use medications that are prescribed for you by a licensed physician. Again, I'm not a physician, but I know enough to introduce you to basics about medications for psychological symptoms. And I bring up the topic here because the impact of losing a loved one can often trigger difficult symptoms of a psychological nature. You've probably experienced some. And in some cases, a properly prescribed medication can help a grieving person like you manage such difficult symptoms. Now, I'd like to speak about just a few types of medications and related considerations, and I don't want to get into too much detail. Depressive symptoms like deep sadness, guilt, hopelessness, helplessness, worthlessness, lack of energy, and so forth are very common. There may also be issues with sleeping and disordered eating. If you look up the symptoms of major depressive disorder, a commonly diagnosed mental disorder, you'll note they are often the same as symptoms that often accompany grief. So could an antidepressant be helpful to you? Well, only your physician can make that recommendation to you, but it might help to know a little bit more about antidepressants, so we'll start there. Most people have heard of antidepressants, but in my experience, many people have inaccurate beliefs about the use and impact of antidepressants. People sometimes think things such as antidepressants are for crazy people only. Antidepressants are addictive. Taking antidepressants is a sin. Now, these beliefs are inaccurate. While it is true that antidepressants may have some negative side effects, and physicians very rightfully take prudent precautions in prescribing them, they're not addictive. Taking an antidepressant doesn't mean a person is crazy. Finally, an antidepressant is certainly not a sin unless you believe all medications are sinful. Some people, myself included, do better with an antidepressant, and I have no negative side effects whatsoever. Others are able to take them for a season and then wean off them. Antidepressants are generally prescribed to take daily, and again, they don't make you high and they are not addictive. Okay, what about anxious symptoms? Interestingly, some of the most common anti-anxiety medications are antidepressants. An effective antidepressant prescribed by a physician for anxiety, that can be helpful and will probably have a very gradual impact. Other medications, such as those from the benzodiazepine family of medicines, are used to create a rapid tranquilizing calming effect in the case of a fast onset of debilitating kind of anxiety symptoms. Now, some of these medicines do have abuse potential and others don't. But don't worry, your physician knows the pros and cons of these medications, and he or she will be able to answer any questions you might have. These medicine options may be considered if your anxiety symptoms are causing you to be less functional and/or fearful. Sometimes a griever may not have any depressive or anxious symptoms, but he or she may have trouble with insomnia, difficulty in sleeping. Insomnia is a symptom that can make other psychological symptoms worse. If you have trouble getting to sleep or staying asleep, or some combination of those two, a physician will be able to provide you sleep aid prescription options. Now, some very strong sleep aid medications have unpleasant and even dangerous symptoms. Others are considered to be very safe. So, physicians will typically work with the safest medication using the lowest possible doses to help you achieve sleep, but with no more aid than is necessary. It's always prudent to be cautious about taking medicines into your body. However, not considering a medication that may reduce very difficult symptoms, in my view, is, well, maybe not that wise. You see, as a mental health professional and a caring person, I hate to see someone suffering unnecessarily because they have unfounded beliefs about these classes of medications. I'm going to end this episode on that note and review some key points with you quickly. Symptoms associated with grieving a loss are sometimes very similar to mental health disorder symptoms, and those symptoms might be alleviated with properly prescribed medications. Physicians are the only persons who can prescribe medications for psychological symptoms, and you should never take another person's leftover medication. There are many false beliefs about medications for psychological symptoms. If a medication can safely reduce the negative psychological symptoms of a grieving person, their grief journey may be made shorter and less difficult to bear. Keep that in mind. The stepping stone for today: if you are struggling with symptoms impacting your sleeping, eating, depression, or anxiety, please consider seeing your primary care physician for a medication consultation. And that's it. I'll leave you with this reflection, though. A person who ignores the advice of others may suffer needlessly in the present and often suffer regrets in the future. Now, don't forget that you can download and print out the episode notes for review. You'll find that link right below this video on your screen. I'm honored that you spend time viewing and listening to these episodes. We hope that something in this episode is providing you with some useful information, some encouragement, and maybe some hope. See you soon, and be well.